I'm Gene Grant here with Heath Hausman of nmpolitics.net. Heath is working with us this year on our legislative and interim committee coverage. Heath, welcome.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming up from Las Cruces. Really appreciate it. In the general sense, what are folks from the southern part of the state looking for this legislative session?
Well, we're in a 30-day budget session, so I think capital outlay, infrastructure needs are some of the main things. So downtown Las Cruces has been a big revitalization project that a lot of money has been put into. The border development right along the border, the spaceport is asking for a budget increase and also asking for a bill to give them more secrecy. That's gotten some coverage down there. So I think those are the big things that I'm aware of that people are watching.
Right. Traditionally, we hear up here in Albuquerque and north in Santa Fe that folks sometimes can feel a little bit disconnected in southern New Mexico.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Doña Ana County is the only county in the state that's not in the Albuquerque TV market. So we don't get TV news from here. Half the jurors in the Robert V. Hill trial, the former state treasurer's corruption trial, were from Doña Ana County because they didn't know about the case.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's true.
Yeah, interesting. You know, the other part that interests me, of course, is you mentioned border issues. You don't hear that being debated much in the legislature. Why is that, in your view?
I think a lot of the border issues that we see media coverage of are federal issues.
Right.
There's only so much the state can do. We do have a resolution in this legislative session, I think, to oppose trading or selling state land for a border wall. I know driver's licenses was an issue we talked about, which is immigration, but not border specific, but they're related. Colonias are another issue, and you actually have some communities around Albuquerque that would be called colonias if they were within 150 miles of the border, but we have a lot of them in southern New Mexico and West Texas that just have infrastructure needs that are overwhelming.
What are things these days? Let me back up. A couple of years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, there was a lot of activity about Mexican cartels and the border issues with New Mexico. Not quite as far north as Las Cruces, certainly. But where does that sit now? You don't really hear a lot about that these days.
It's quieter.
Yeah.
And there was a real debate back then about, was there spillover, was there violence on this side of the border? And when I really looked into it, there was some.
Yeah.
Was it substantial? It depends on your definition of substantial. There was some. But things have quieted, although murders are up again in Juarez this year, and they're the highest they've been in several years. So I think people are watching that closely. But on the other side, we have El Paso, Texas, which is one of the safest large cities in America.
Right. Interesting there. One of the issues that I appreciated on nmpolitics.net is your coverage of the behavioral health issues and the closings during the Martinez administration. You follow that very closely. Where do things sit now, and where do you think it's headed?
It's a very good question. I and KRWG and the Las Cruces Sun News did an investigation last year of where things are in southern New Mexico. Still struggling to recover from the freeze of the Medicaid funds, a system that was inadequate even before that. Still inadequate, people are still falling through the cracks. I know that I don't hear a lot of good ideas for how we fix this, so one of the questions I intend to ask throughout the 2018 election cycle of candidates for office is, what are you going to do about behavioral health in New Mexico? Because it has been decimated in the last 8 years.
Right. You know, we have a bit of a better budget situation now. I'm going to imagine that legislators from your part of the state are going to be pushing perhaps for some more coverage on that. Have you heard anything about that? Or
I know that there's actually one main provider who has picked up the behavioral health, Medicaid-funded behavioral health services in Las Cruces now, and they have spent years regaining clients who were lost during the freeze, but now they haven't had an increase in staff levels. They're a nonprofit. Provider reimbursement rates are an important thing that the state can affect. Funding for infrastructure. They just had renovated their building to accommodate more clients. But they need more.
Yeah, let's hope that improves now. And we'll talk more about economic development and transparency with Heath next week. But until then, follow our coverage of the legislature online or call our hotline. That's at 505-336-0520 to share tips for our state government reporting.